Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, the podcast where we discuss cybercrimes and cybersecurity news. This week we will be discussing a new record broken in the cybercrime world, the highest ransom ever paid to a threat actor group. This record was just recently broken this year by a currently undisclosed victim in early 2024. Previously, the highest amount paid to a ransomware group was CNA Insurance, who paid $40 million. Change Healthcare, who I discussed on this podcast before, was not too far behind. They ended up paying a whopping $22 million to threat actors. So, what's the record now? 50 million? Try $75 million, almost double what CNA Insurance paid and over triple what Change Healthcare paid. So, who did they pay this to? On this podcast, there's definitely threat actors that get discussed a lot. Alpha V and Lockbit were the most major threat actors until they were seemingly taken down and eventually just disbanded. And not to say that ransomware has slowed down, but there's certainly been a void in the world of ransomware in their absence. These hackers are a group I've actually not discussed previously though, Dark Angels. Dark Angels emerged in 2022 and are like most ransomware groups. They breach corporate networks and try to gain admin access, stealing data along the way to use as leverage against their victims. After they have sufficient access to a domain controller, they deploy ransomware to the entire network. A domain controller is a server that responds to authentication requests, for example, you logging into a corporate machine. After a user logs in, they have access to any resources within that domain that they are allowed to access. Domain controllers are very important and basically control the entire IT infrastructure of an organization. If a threat actor has control of a domain controller, they have control of pretty much everything there. Most organizations, of course, have a backup domain controller, and this accounts for typical IT issues like random outages, but not exactly for ransomware attacks. What makes Dark Angels different from most ransomware groups I talk about is the strategy that they use to target organizations. Many ransomware groups target low-hanging fruit, or whoever is convenient. Or they don't target anyone and just use an affiliate model, basically having other people use their ransomware and decide who they want to target. Sometimes applying special rules, although those rules are not always necessarily followed. Both of these strategies allow ransomware groups to hit a pretty large amount of organizations at once. And if one of them doesn't pay up, it really doesn't matter too much because they have plenty of other organizations that will. Dark Angels don't use this strategy. They instead use a strategy known as big game hunting. They don't just target organizations indiscriminately or whoever is just easy to hack. They target very small amounts of very high-value companies. This is aiming for one massive payout, and this year it proved to be pretty successful with the massive $75 million payout to the group. The reason we even know this happened is because Zscaler Threat Labs published a ransomware report for the year 2024. On their section about Dark Angels, they explain that despite performing some of the largest ever ransomware attacks, they've really attracted minimal attention in the media. And even though they don't have as much notoriety as Lockbit, they've recommended that organizations be aware of the Dark Angels group. Zscaler is the group that suggested that the $75 million payout occurred. And crypto intelligence company Chainalysis took an interest in this and decided to investigate further. In a tweet, they confirmed that a crypto wallet transferred approximately $75 million into the crypto wallet owned by the Dark Angels ransomware group. We can't determine exactly who paid this ransom for two reasons. One, Zscaler opted not to share this information in their ransomware report, and two, even though we know a crypto wallet transferred this money, the wallet's anonymous. It's not really linked to anyone or any organization. And three, no ransomware group took credit for anything of this scale. We'll go into more details on that in just a bit. What Zscaler did share is that this company was a Fortune 500 company and the breach occurred in early 2024. There is some speculation as to who it is, although it is just speculation. According to Bleeping Computer, Cencora, a pharmaceutical company, had a ransomware attack occur in 2024 and is currently number 10 on the Fortune 500. However, as I mentioned a minute ago, no one ever claimed responsibility for this attack. This could be because the Dark Angels want to keep a low profile and because they felt no need due to the ransom being paid, or it could have been a different threat group altogether. Cencora has not yet responded to inquiry on whether or not they paid this now infamous ransom. They did, however, confirm that sensitive personal and healthcare data was stolen when they were breached, but they have not provided any information on who the threat actors were or if a ransom was paid. So what does this all mean? Why is it important? Well, big numbers like this will likely lead to a rise in high-profile organizations being targeted, and more ransomware groups giving the big game hunting strategy a try, especially knowing that some organizations are willing to pay this much money. In general, it's not advised to pay a ransom at all because it only encourages threat actors to target you. However, a lot of organizations, especially in healthcare, are potentially risking lives if a ransom is not paid. It's a difficult situation, and I think people tend to reduce it down to you should never pay, and that lacks in nuance. Still, seeing ransomware payouts get bigger and bigger is rather concerning for the future of ransomware, and I don't see this problem ever going away or even being reduced soon, unfortunately. Thank you to Zscaler Threat Labs for the report, as well as Forbes, Bleeping Computer, InfoSecurity Magazine, and Security Week for information on both the Cencora data breach as well as the ransom payout. As I said, this is still speculation, although the timelines do add up. But let me know what you think, and thank you, of course, for tuning into this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime. My name is Chloe Tonis, and until next time, stay secure.